Good evening traders, it's Simon at Kairos Capital Markets with the weekly review of Aussie dollar, pound yen and euro dollar. So last week, or this week just gone, we was expecting to see a US dollar pullback, and for the majority of the week we had this high test here doesn't really represent on the weekly perspective, but if you look on the daily, we actually had a rally of like a few days here. We moved up. It has broken down nicely on the daily chart. And when you look at the weekly perspective, you can really see now there's not enough buying interest now to actually move this chart higher now. So I really, at some point or another, this will have to break down. And again, I know 92 is the extreme here on the weekly perspective, but I do believe we do have a move down now. Where you would see that would be a break of this daily 50 EMA, this upper sloping trend line, and the 94 level on the DXY. So when we have a move lower down like here, the US dollar will devalue quite a lot, and again you can see 92 would be on par there. 93 is there as well, but the fact we've been chopping around so much so often, this price action here, it looks like it's a rising wedge just forming now. The price action here says to me that we are going to break down quite significantly. I think it'd be a 1-to-1 pattern distance. So to give you an example on the 1-to-1 pattern distance, is something like that it would be. And you can see already that the 1-to-1 pattern distance is quite an extensive move down. It does put you down to 92, so don't be shocked if you do see 92 in the coming weeks now on the DXY. So how does that make the Aussie dollar look? So on the Aussie dollar, we got now, you can see volume. You can see I had this like multiple tests around the 73.5 level. So I'll just pop that in now. We can see it's key. Obviously, it's much more key on the lower time frames there. Not the greatest on the daily, but it's still there. And the volume here as well. So you've got good high, a decent bullish engulfing candle with great volume. So I do really see a move up to 75 and maybe possibly 77, because again, when you look at the weekly perspective, multiple low tests and forming some double and triple bottoms there, you are going to see a move up higher. So it could come to the weekly 50 EMA here as well, a little test of that. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you do see a test of 77 as well still, because at the moment this trend line hasn't been tested at all. And just coming up to kissing it there, puts a little mini double top pattern on the daily chart, it would, and you'd obviously have a test of the weekly 50, 77 and the upper sloping trend line. So I'm still not going to be surprised to see this move upwards. It is taking longer than expected, but hey, this is the way trading is. So again, on the euro dollar, very similar situation as well. Multiple low tests on the neckline here of 1.16 pretty much. When you come down to the daily chart, exactly the same story as before. What you've got price nearing the daily 50 EMA now. But if you look at the volume here at the bottom, the volume's really high, good bullish engulfing candle. And here as well, this little doji here, there's super high volume for a doji. The next day, bang, it's moved up higher again. So for me personally, I do see this now breaking the daily 50 EMA. And if you remember last week, we spoke about the 4-hour trend line here. I have slightly adjusted it, but it was actually slightly lower, actually, fair enough. It was sitting there. I've just adjusted it a little bit there. It's just a little bit cleaner. But if you notice here, though, I did say to you guys, when you see a big bullish engulfing candle of higher volume, there's a bullish engulfing candle, there's your higher volume. So for me personally, the fact we've got this super high test but very low volume means it's just going to trickle down. It will test the key level there. As you can see, I do believe now it'll move down. This is the 1 hour chart. It'll move down, gives a little test there, and then obviously it then should rally back off after. So I think price will do something like this. It might come in a little bit, you never know, but that'll be on low volume, and then it'll move up higher after as the volume picks up through Monday morning, I'd expect. Monday/Tuesday morning, that would be this move that will happen. The 1 hour 50 EMA might be tested. It may be just a small pullback to this trend line. Not 100% sure, but in all fairness, you definitely going to have a good bullish engulfing, some good bullish price action there. So now looking at pound yen, and this pair is getting a bit confused at the moment. So you can see the double top bottom pattern there, and we moved out of this downward sloping trend line, but we tested the backside of this upward sloping trend line on the weekly perspective. So at the moment you could turn around and say it's made a higher high, it's coming back down, and it could be making a higher low here, which I can totally understand. With the Fibonacci as well, you can definitely say it's got the 618 Fibonacci, and the volume as well here, the volume is picking up on the doji itself, so it does give you some significance that the yen is going to weaken off again. My only concern though is this weekly chart. So the daily looks bullish, the weekly looks bearish. We've actually come up bearish engulfing candle to the downside, and that's quite a decent sized candle to reject the key level of 147.5, the weekly 50, and the upper sloping trend line. So like I said, I don't like this pair. It's a tale of two halves, and to be quite honest, on the higher time frames, you are in the middle of nowhere, and there's far better UK pairs to sell or yen pairs to buy. There's far better out there. This for me is utter mess now, and I'm not interested at all. If however we make a, for example, we could come down and test again 144.5 to 144, I'll be tempted to take a little trade here long, just because you've actually got a base of a triple bottom there, but I wouldn't be holding it long just because of the risk. So at the moment with this trade here, it looks nice, as in you don't know where it's going to go. It is clean, it is moving nicely, but for a higher time frame perspective, the weekly is bearish, the daily is bullish. I want to stay out of this trade until something solid really comes out of it nicely. Until such point, I don't want to touch this trade at all. Okay guys, any questions, give me a shout. If not, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.